herbs that we have that are particularly meant for pain in animals and why we use some versus others. And I have my little book here to help guide me as I go through and explain these to you guys. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Gina Cuesta. I'm a holistic veterinarian and aquatic veterinarian. I'm also a trainer, so I do a lot of behavior counseling. But being a holistic clinic, we will often use herbs like these health concerns Chinese herbs instead of using a lot of conventional drugs because they tend to have less side effects and help your pets live longer because it's going to be less taxing on their liver and kidneys and all that kind of thing. So if you come here with your pet for some kind of a pain condition, these are some of the different herbs that we might prescribe for your pet depending on what is going on with them. So I'm just going to go through these so that you have an idea of what these are and why we would use different ones for different conditions. So alphabetically, the first thing that we have here are these things called ACQs, ACQ tabs. And what they are, in the clinical handout, it describes that these are specifically for dispensing wind cold in the joints. It treats joint and muscle pain accompanied by weakness of the leg, hips, and back, especially post-stroke. So your veterinarian, when they're trying to decide which herb to use, is going to take all of those things into consideration. They're going to maybe look at the tongue of the patient, the pulse of the patient, the general constitution, along with the blood work, and where the pain is located to help determine if this particular one, EQ, is right for you. So this is something that I'm definitely going to use when we have a pet that is specifically kind of weak in the back end. And this is one I'll often combine with something else, like a Mobility 2 or a Mobility 3, which are sort of our workhorse that most of our patients that are over the age of maybe 8 are probably going to be on to help protect them from arthritis as they get older. So that's our first one, is ACQ. Next we have backbone. And so backbone literally strengthens the back and the knees, and it's for treating lower back pain. Also can treat some incontinence. So again, when I'm going to use backbone is going to depend on the patient. If I have a patient, so would this one work? Of course it would. Would they work together? Probably even better. But if I have a patient that also happens to be incontinent, backbone is probably where I'm going to go. I've also used this particular one for patients that had specific low back injuries. So if it's really concentrated to the low back, backbone tends to be the one that I am going to reach for. So then after that, we come to Collagen X, Collagen X2. Now, Collagen X is definitely my go-to for tendons and ligaments, and it is going to be for reducing joint pain and stiffness in clinical trials as quickly as 7 to 10 days. I mean, that's amazing, right? So right on par with any kind of conventional medication for pain in our pets. So I love that about Collagen X, and it's my favorite one for ligament injuries. So my stifle injuries, anytime we know for sure it's kind of a ligamentous injury, Collagen X2 is definitely what I'm going to go with to try to help get that animal out of pain. But again, if there's a lot of pain, really three-legged lame, don't want to put the leg down at all because of how badly that ligament is torn, I'm going to probably combine it with something else like Mobility and ACQ tabs. Sometimes we have to put them all together in order to achieve what we're looking for, which is really the animal being much more comfortable in their joints and in their body. So next, we're going to come to another one of my very favorites, and this one is great for just all kinds of patients, which is Curcuma Flow. So it is helpful for joint health and rehabilitating, improving joint pain and mobility, lessens muscle soreness from oxidative stress. So this is a good one for post some kind of traumatic injury, say a hit by a car or a dog fight, or something that's going to create a lot of inflammation all over in the body. Also, it's curcumin or turmeric, which is very appealing to a lot of people, so it's easy to explain to our pet owners about this and convince them, because a lot of them are using it as well for themselves, for their own aches and pains. And so this one is what I like to definitely reach for instead of like an aspirin, or like you or I might reach for a Tylenol. Of course, don't give Tylenol to your pets without the advice of your veterinarian, if at all. This one is more what I like for those acute injuries where we need just really good pain control for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then just kind of put it back in the cabinet we'll use it hopefully the next time. Well, hopefully the next time you don't need it, but if you do need it, it's there. So it's not something that we're going to be necessarily giving every day all the time. It's going to be more for those acute injuries. Then we go to Mobility 2 and Mobility 3. And these are really, honestly, my two favorites of all of these. My own personal dog has been on Mobility 2, gosh, since she was 4 or 5 years old, because she's a big dog, and I knew that to protect her joints as she got older, the best thing that I could do was invest in her joint health early. So I actually started her on Mobility 2, and I have to tell you, she still moves great, even though she weighs over 100 pounds. She has great mobility still, and I think a lot of that has to do with not only the rehab exercises that I've done with her, but also from being on Mobility 2 for such a long time. So that's sort of how I use Mobility 2. It says here it dispense wind damp. So for those of you that are really into Chinese medicine or a practitioner that understands what that means, that might help you to decide if this is the right one for your patient. And then of course, Mobility 3 is more for those chronic cases, what I move these pets over to once they are hitting the age of about 9 or 10 or 11. And this is going to be more for your, invigorates the blood, it tonifies, and it is also going to help to prevent pain from exposure to wind, cold, and dampness. So if you have an animal that lives in the Pacific Northwest, maybe you would definitely pick Mobility 3 first, or if the dog came from there, or that's where they live now, because that is going to be the best herb for this kind of cold, damp conditions that are causing the animal to just like really sort of literally freeze at their joints and have a lot of joint pain. And then last but not least, we have Spasm. And Spasm is really the one that it invigorates the blood, it moistens and nourishes the sinews, it treats muscle spasms, particularly due to injuries like whiplash, which hopefully doesn't happen, but I do see a fair amount of dogs with neck pain. It's amazing how many dogs actually in our practice that we treat from neck pain. And so rather than send them home with a lot of muscle relaxers, I reach for Spasm, probably combined with something else, whether it's Mobility or Curcumin Flow. Again, those are going to be up to your individual practitioner to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to see which combination of herbs we think are going to be the best to help that pet get out of pain the fastest, of course, along with acupuncture. So don't underestimate the value of acupuncture. Acupuncture really should be used in conjunction with these herbs. Herbs are wonderful because they are reminding the body every single day about how to get healthy again, how to rebuild those tissues. That's what herbs are doing. And when you're giving herbs, it's also helpful for you to make sure that you are imagining your pet being healthy when you're adding them. So most of the time what I recommend doing is adding them to their food and with some hot water. That tends to sort of activate the herbs and get them really going in the body, unless it's one that's specifically designed to be given on an empty stomach, and that's something that you'll want to pay attention to on the label and follow those directions. The other thing to remember, especially if your veterinarian has prescribed you 2 or 3 different herbs, to start each one at a time. We really like to start them one at a time because every animal reacts differently, even though these are generally extremely safe. If you do have a pet that happens to have a really sensitive stomach for some reason, and you start the ACQ tabs and then add the Mobility and then add the Curcumin Flow, and the pet gets an upset stomach or doesn't want to eat breakfast the next day or gets diarrhea, we're not going to know which one of those it was that was the instigator. So I usually recommend doing a half dose of the first one for the first 48 hours and making sure that the pet is doing well. Again, this is for something that's going to be chronic and ongoing, like a torn ligament that's going to take 6 weeks to 6 months to really heal. If your pet has been hit by a car or had surgery or something like that, you are going to probably have other pain meds that are going to work more effectively, more quickly, and maybe also with some potential negative side effects on the liver or kidneys, which is okay because we've done our blood work beforehand to make sure that that's not going to be too much of a problem. But, so keep in mind, as long as the animal isn't going to be in tremendous amount of pain, if we can, starting them one at a time, 48 hours apart, and also starting them at half doses before getting up to full doses. And I do have a handout that we can give you on the proper way to do that. And we're happy to share all that information with anybody out there. So you don't have to be a client here, you don't have to be a veterinarian. If you're just interested in natural and holistic medicine for your pets, maybe this is something that you can learn about, look into yourself, talk to your veterinarian about, see if this is something that they might help you if you wanted to explore this with your animals. And it's not just for dogs, right? It can be for horses, it can be for cats. Again, cats, it's going to be little tiny doses, right? So we're going to be careful with dosing. And it's also hard to get herbs into cats. Am I right? I mean, that is like really the hardest thing. Most kitties are going to be a little bit reluctant to taste those herbs on their food. But you can use something like nutritional yeast, which is what we carry here. This just says yeast, but it's actually nutritional yeast, because nutritional yeast is your secret weapon for getting cats to eat almost anything. So nutritional yeast, if you're not familiar with it, it's really something that you can just buy at the regular grocery store. And it's great B vitamins, and it kind of tastes a little bit like Parmesan cheese, so a lot of vegans use it on popcorn or to flavor things up, and most cats absolutely love it. So now you know that nutritional yeast is your secret weapon for getting your kitty cat to eat almost anything that's new and different. So certainly put some on I'll show you what it looks like. Here, like that. Yummy, it smells kind of nutty and delicious. And so not only is it delicious and nutritious, it also helps animals kind of cover up the flavor sometimes of some of these herbs and might help them make it more likely for them to eat them. So definitely important for cats. Could also be important for dogs if your dog is being reluctant to want to take their mobility 2 and their curcumin flow after they've gone out and played too hard and hurt their cruciate ligament. So at this point, I'm going to pause and see if there's anybody out there has any questions about anything that we've talked about here, or acupuncture, or any other things in holistic medicine.
We did get a thumbs up, Dr. Q.
Oh, good. Yay, thank you. I'm so grateful for that. So if you like this content and other pieces of content and information like that, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this live. Put your comments down below about what you liked, and that would be very helpful for us and for growing the channel, so that I can make sure that I'm being of value to you and giving you what you actually want to learn about. And so the other thing I would like to take a moment to let you guys know is that, as I mentioned earlier, not only am I a holistic veterinarian, but I'm also a trainer, and I created a horse training masterclass that's over 150 hours of college level behavior and training science, all packed into a really short, easy to understand, fun course that I've been selling for several $100s for several years. And due to my renewed commitment to spreading the message of positive reinforcement over the next 3 years, I've actually decided to, guess what? I'm gonna give it away for free. I know, it's crazy. Everybody told me I was crazy, but I just really want to get the message out there. So whether you love horses, or you just love animals in general, or you're interested in training or behavior, I guarantee you're gonna learn something in there. And so, and it's absolutely no cost, no catch, nothing. All I'm doing is really honestly trying to spread the message of positive reinforcement animal training, what it is, how to use it, why it's the only thing any of us should be using on any of our animals for the rest of our lives. So if you have any interest in that whatsoever, make this the year that you educate yourself on that. All you have to do is go to the ResqRanch website and just create a free login up at the top, and boom, just like that, you're gonna get access to all these modules that would have before cost you hundreds of dollars to purchase. Now it's my free gift to you in order to help spread the message of positive reinforcement even further. So if you know any horse lovers out there, horse trainers, riders, especially kids maybe starting out, it's the best way to keep them safe and have the most amazing relationship, not just with horses, but with all of the animals in your life. So if nobody has any other questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. Again, thank you for being here. Really appreciate you guys. All I want to do is help you have the most amazing relationship with all the animals in your life and happy and healthy and easy, and you stay healthy too, because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take great care of them? And I'm here to help you accomplish all of that. So have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in another video next time. Bye-bye, everybody.